On a raised platform, Kisuke Urahara tells the gathered Shinigami and Stern Ritter to focus their Reiatsu into glass orbs, which helps a massive gate form behind him. As it expands, Mayuri's lab below goes haywire, with alarms blaring and the ground shaking. Meanwhile, Urahara sees parts of the Wandenreich city being lifted into the air, realizing the enemy's power is way beyond theirs. Back in the Soul King Palace, Yoruichi opens a Garganta, and out steps Grimmjow, ready for a fight with Ichigo. He's not thrilled to see Ichigo healed and standing, but before they can throw down, Neliel smashes into Grimmjow while greeting Ichigo. She's now in her adult form, thanks to a bracelet made by Urahara, and says she's here to help. While Ichigo is stunned, Sato notices Orihime blushing, thinking about Urahara's weird inventions. Just as the tension rises between Neliel and Grimmjow, Riruka and Yukio show up in a high-tech elevator, surprising Ichigo. They tell him to hop on, and the elevator locks, ready to take them all to the next phase of the mission. Ichigo's stunned, asking why no one filled him in on this earlier, only for Orihime to sheepishly admit they already knew from Hueco Mundo. Sato apologizes, and Ichigo realizes they were holding off Grimmjow when Urahara called. Yoruichi tries to downplay it, saying more manpower is always good, but Ichigo snaps that it's unfair he's the only one left out. Sato agrees, but Yoruichi just brushes it off, saying he's too busy. After a quick back and forth, Yukio pulls up a screen showing the Dangai, the space between the human world and Soul Society. Yoruichi explains the Dangai is surrounded by the valleys of screams, unstable, dangerous areas filled with lost souls. But these valleys are special because their reishi structure is stable enough for them to use. Urahara had Riruka and Yukio use their fullbrings to create an elevator out of one of these valleys, allowing them to move around without using Reiatsu, perfect for a surprise attack on the Wandenreich. Meanwhile, back at the Seirete, Urahara sees the gate starting to break down. Zenosuke and Shino sense something's wrong, and Nanao says they need Ukitake's Reiatsu to fix it. Just then, Lisa and the others show up, ready to help. Urahara hands out orbs to channel Reiatsu, but Mayuri steps in with a Reiatsu amplifier, boosting everyone's power to restore the gate. As it glows golden, the massive Senkaimon takes shape, and Shunsui vows to honor Ukitake's sacrifice. The elevator zooms upward toward the Greater Soul King Palace, and Yoruichi lays out the plan. They'll launch a surprise attack. She planted a special stake near the Soul King earlier, which should teleport them straight to the Wandenreich if it's still in place. She pumps up Ichigo, telling him to unleash his strongest Getsuga Tensho on Yhwach, while she and the crew clear the way. Ganju confidently declares the minions are his problem. Sato tries to talk strategy, but Ichigo, feeling guilty, stays quiet, disappointing both Sato and Orihime. Orihime laments missed opportunities, but Riruka snaps at her for dragging everyone's mood down. When Orihime thanks her, Riruka flips out and accidentally smacks her with her hoodie wings, creating an awkward but funny moment. Meanwhile, Grimmjow, perched high above, tells Ichigo he's only here because if Yhwach wins, Hueco Mundo and his chance to fight Ichigo again will be toast. Ichigo can't help but grin at that logic. At the palace, Uryu stands before a monstrous Yhwach, who's dripping with liquid darkness and sprouting creepy mismatched eyes. The Schustaffel are freaked out, especially Askin, while Hashwalth remains eerily calm, declaring Yhwach's monstrous form magnificent. Yhwach flexes his overwhelming power, lifting chunks of the palace into the air. Askin clings to the rubble in terror, while Hashwalth kneels and pledges loyalty to Yhwach's vision of a remade world. Back on the elevator, Yoruichi announces they're almost there, but Yukio suddenly drops a bombshell he's staying behind. Ganju, furious, calls him out for ditching, but Yukio argues he never signed up for this fight. The tension builds as the team steels themselves for the final battle ahead. Ganju argues that risking your life for duty isn't really a risk, but Ichigo shuts him down, saying he's already lost. He tells Yukio to stay put, and when he orders Riruka to do the same, she gets annoyed but reluctantly agrees. Ichigo thanks her for her help with the dollhouse, even though it wasn't exactly cute. He asks her to stay with Yukio, ready to get them out if needed, and Riruka grumbles but accepts. Meanwhile, in Mayuri's lab, Akon, Rin, Hyosu, and Kuna push buttons, and Urahara confirms the gate is set. Up in the Garganta, Ichigo opens the door at Yoruichi's command. Back at the gate, Shunsui tells the group the Soul King Palace is beyond, and Urahara opens the gate for the captains, lieutenants, Visored, and Sternritter to go through. But when Ichigo and the crew step out, they're shocked to find the Wandenreich city, not the Soul King Palace, surrounded by darkness. Sato recognizes it as a Quincy city, and Ganju wonders where they are. In the city, the Shinigami, Visored, and Sternritter are all confused. Hiyori demands answers, and Urahara admits the coordinates should have been for the Soul King Palace, but something went wrong. Yoruichi realizes they might not have hit their exact spot, and as she steps back, she accidentally knocks a stake. To their horror, it looks like the Wandenreich city was lifted from the Seirete and rebuilt over the Soul King Palace. Shunsui points out the platform they're on is circular, meaning it was probably part of the Royal Guard city. But now, it seems like Yhwach has turned the Soul King Palace into a Quincy stronghold. Yoruichi confirms that Yhwach has completely reshaped it to his will, and it's no longer the palace they once knew. Yoruichi's relieved they dodged trouble by being in the Garganta, which is pure luck. But then her brother, Yushiro Shihoin, picks up her Reiatsu, and she quickly senses him too. She explains to Ichigo that Yushiro's not only her brother, but also the head of the Shihoin clan. Ichigo's shocked that she never mentioned it, and Yoruichi brushes it off, saying he's not her fiancé. Yushiro tries to jump over but messes up, falling until Renji catches him. Yushiro admits he couldn't get a foothold because the reishi here's too dense, and Byakuya explains that the enemy's probably controlling the reishi, making it impossible for them to use. Byakuya notes this could be Yhwach's doing, since he's powerful enough to kill the Soul King, which has got Suifang wondering if the Soul King's already dead. Meanwhile, Shunsui's relieved that Ichigo's group is still alive. He says if the Soul King is gone, they'll just need to find a new one. Shunsui orders everyone to move forward and fight for the courts they protect. Suddenly the ground shakes, and a huge tower rises with Silburn at its peak. Shunsui realizes it's the enemy's stronghold, and Urahara guesses they're being lured in. Yhwach, sitting on his Hagal throne, talks about his new world, Warwelt, which Hashwalth vows to make happen by killing everyone in their path.
この運命に映る未来を成し遂げるため、新たな世界の礎となるこのバールベルトで。
Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next episodes and subscribe for more videos.